let's get started. All right, so we're officially starting. Welcome. I am Victoria Donovan, moderating today's discussion. I am founder and CEO of Clinically Media. We're a firm that specializes in connecting clinical research studies with the very specific patients they need to fill enrollment goals. After our first 2024 JPM webinar, Navigating JPM Week, it became super clear super quickly that there was really a need for guidance directed towards service providers that were attending JPM specifically, and really how to maximize their time at JPM. So not a discussion on finding investors, not a discussion necessarily on pitching, but really a discussion for service providers that are looking to, at the end of the day, get customers, get clients from JPM. So Big4Bio and Clinically Media joined forces once again to bring you this discussion. Can't wait to introduce you to our panelists. We have some amazing people lined up who are from all different really facets of the service provider world. I'll introduce them in a few minutes. Amazing turnout. I'm super excited to see how many people are here. It really shows, again, time and time again, how needed these discussions are. And it's been an absolute honor to moderate, and I'm so excited to be here today. We've very carefully crafted the questions and the webinar content here to really set you up for success and on a really great path as you're preparing for January. The next slide is our agenda, and we are going to start with panelist introductions, jump into our interactive panel. That's going to be really the bulk and the meat of this discussion. After that, we're going to transition into breakout networking. The purpose behind this is going to become clear as we're really talking through the panel, but we want to create a very valuable webinar, a very valuable network, a really valuable community as we go into JPM for partnering opportunities, for introduction possibilities. The more people we know, the more people we're connected with, the better our network, the better things are going to be. The saying, your network is your net worth, is a saying for a reason. We'll then come back, we'll do questions and closing remarks, and then we all are off to enjoy our evenings. So let's, we have one quick little thing, next slide, to show you before we get started. Mary Canady, who's on the call, this is her event, and I'm hopefully going to do it justice while I talk about it. This is an amazing opportunity for a dinner and networking event hosted by one of our partners, Biotech Networks. Join Biotech Networks January 8th in San Francisco during JP Morgan for a speed networking event. So if you have a conference name badge from JPM, from Biotech Showcase, Resi, or the Bio Partnering System, it's free to attend. They have this patent pending scientific speed networking along with a special deal making networking session. They really have an amazing structure to networking that removes all of the awkward and removes all of the need to initiate conversations, but still facilitates all of that very genuine connection. It's awesome. It's super cool. The first time she told me about it, I think I told her, I was like, wow, that's so cool. I can't wait to go to one of your networking events one day. And there's going to be one in Denver.
You're going to that one, right?
I haven't decided, because the problem.
Mute yourself. Great. So the venue of this event is Harmonic Brewing Thrive City, which is in the Chase Center in Mission Bay. It's beautiful, casual, has this overlook of the bay, and it's just a quick ride from Union Square. You can also take public transportation. We're aware that weather might be an issue, so we're going to keep it handled. If we get tense, don't worry. It's going to be amazing. January 8th. The link to register is going to be in the chat if it isn't already. Thank you, Alicia. It's in the chat. And by the way, this is a absolutely screaming deal. It's $35. right now, and it sounds like they may be increasing the prices as we get closer to the event. So get in on it now. It's amazing and cool and worth the trip. All right, next slide. All right, now we're what we're all here for. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our panelists and really set them up to introduce themselves so that they can really speak to their accomplishments and what they've done at JPM and set the stage for you to start thinking of questions to ask them. These are an amazing group of individuals here, and I'm so thrilled to have them. We have one more that will be joining us who isn't here yet, and that is Linda. We'll get started with Jess and Chris and off to the races. So Jess, take it away.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Victoria. Really honored to be here. My name is Jess Hawthorne. I work for a equipment financing company out of Richmond, Virginia. I'm a director on the sales and business development team. My company, CSC Leasing, basically purchases equipment on behalf of early stage high growth companies and leases it to them as a way for them to preserve capital. The whole idea is nobody wants to spend equity dollars on appreciating assets. So we come in, we purchase the equipment on their behalf, lease it to them over a term of usually 2 to 4 years, and really help them grow and scale. So like I said, Victoria, really happy to be here. I, like most of you all, am still trying to figure out the best way to navigate some of these larger conferences, but I do spend a lot of time at conferences throughout the year. And so I think I've got a pretty good grasp on it. Especially JPM is a little bit of a tougher one since, there is no conference actually to attend. It's really all the outside networking events and the offsite one-on-one partnering. So like I said, really glad to be here.
So glad to have you here, Jess. Thank you. Chris.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to talk today. So my name's Chris Trisna. Actually founder of 2 companies, CSSI, which is a patient recruitment company, similar to Victoria's, working with a lot of phase 2, phase 3 companies. Been doing that for close to 25 years now. But also started a company called CSSI Life Sciences, which is right in this neck of the woods, about 12 years ago, where we brought a group together of consultants that work as regulatory consultants for small and upcoming device and drug companies. And about 10 years ago, we started a networking event at JP Morgan, and it's really blossomed into having over 600-700 people attending it. That it truly is about networking, and that's what we're here today to talk about. And I'll try to share with things that we've learned over the years.
Amazing. Thank you, Chris. So if you have specific questions for the panelists, please don't hesitate to put them into the chat. We may not be able to address them all immediately. We'll do our best to get to as many as possible and get to every single one. If you have a question and want to ask it live, raise your hand using the raise your hand feature on Zoom, and we'll call on you so that we make sure that we get through everybody and keep this on track. All right, let's get into it. There's going to be a lot of polls. This is interactive. It's going to be fun. We're going to have breakout sessions. It's intended to be an extremely valuable webinar that you're going to leave and have 6 or 7 connections already set up that are going to make your JP Morgan experience better. So we're going to get started with our first poll. And here we go. And I'll give about a minute, minute and a half for responses to come through. So we have 2 questions. How large is your company? And then what sector of the life science and healthcare industry do you primarily serve as a service provider?
Victoria, at the end of this, I hope you can teach us all how to do Zoom polls.
We'll have another webinar where we can have a Zoom tools deep dive.
Perfect.
right, we still have a few people rolling in. I'll cut it off at the minute mark, so we have like 5 seconds left. And then we'll reveal the results, which are not surprising. So I'm going to end the poll. Thank you all, and share the results. We've got a pretty good mix, it looks like, between individual consultants, solopreneurs, small startups, and mid-sized companies, not as many from large corporations. And then asking which sector of the life science and healthcare industry do you primarily serve as a service provider? Really overwhelmingly biotech. And then we've got pharma, med device, and diagnostics. And I know this question is really just who do you primarily serve? There are a ton of crossover between, biotech, pharma, and med device. Absolutely. All right, great. All right, panelists, you've got this memorized? Cool. Okay. I'm gonna jump in here to our first question, which is, what strategies can service providers use to stand out in the crowded JPM field and create memorable, value-driven connections? Chris, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Host a huge event. It's very expensive, but it definitely gets your name out there. No, I think it's important, you said it earlier, networking. When I first went there 10 years ago, I latched on to as many people and tagged along to as many events as possible. And during those events, a lot of them at night in bars, at parties, but you get to know a lot of people. And it's really important to start your networking at those events. Don't stay in, get out and meet people. Through those networks, you're going to meet other people at other vendors, but more of the investing groups who are looking also for vendors like yourself to support their investments. So the first thing I would say is just network. Get out there as much. It's not so much what you do during the day as much as what you do at night as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Chris there. It's really all about the networking, especially since the majority of us don't go to the conference itself. Attend as many events as you can. Try to meet as many people as you can. One thing that I have had some success with at JPM and some of these other large conferences is really asking some of these people that we meet, what can I do for you? Right? I mean, we're all looking for stuff to help us, right? I'm looking for new clients to lease equipment to, but you may meet somebody that is looking for an investor, a seed stage investor in the Mid-Atlantic region where I'm from. And by connecting people to people within your network, it provides so much value and makes those long-lasting, meaningful connections. So I always try to end my whatever networking meetings. Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything I can help you with? And that really goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Gunjan asked in the chat, what is your advice to get your money's worth when you're going to these events? Some of them are paid, some of them are free. Jess, what do you think?
So Gunjan mentioned the bio networking service. That's a good question, particularly with the app. So what I do a lot of is, I send a lot of meeting requests. Last year, I think I sent 200 and probably had 5 meetings. But what I did was looked closely at the description of the company. A lot of times they'll have an ask of something, whatever they're looking for. Hey, I'm raising money to go to clinical trials. There's a good side note for people like you, Victoria, or you, Chris. Hey, I'm raising money. I need to build out a lab. That's perfect for me. So having pointed messages to these people really makes a difference. In fact, I have attended Resi, and I hear these investors all the time say, make sure you do at least a little bit of research. Don't just reach out to me when I invested in oncology and you're a med device company. It's a waste of everybody's time. So that'd be my advice. Again, it's I'm still trying to figure out the best way to leverage that platform as well. I think this year it might have gone up a little bit in price, particularly for service providers. Not necessarily crazy about that. So, make sure you have pointed messages, meeting requests.
Yeah, pointed messages and do your research. Those are great points.
Yeah, LinkedIn's a great tool to reach out, ask for that. A lot of people are going to be like you. They're going to be there for the first time. They're looking to network with other people. Be open. I'm going to JP Morgan. I'm looking forward to networking with people. Anyone that wants to meet with me, I'd love to. This is what I do. The bio conference is another thing. It's there. You can register for it. If you're able to, there are different apps. Like the bio will have an app which will list all the attendees, and you'll be able to see their profiles as well as potentially set up meetings with them. Just gives you another access point to people that are there to get their profiles and reach out to them.
And Chris, you made a good point too. Everybody's there for the same reason, right? We're all trying to network. So there's no shame in going up to somebody that you never met saying, "Hey, what do you do?" That's sometimes it seems silly, but sometimes people can be a little bashful. So it doesn't hurt to say, "Hey, what do you do?"
And Dan, I see you asked what platform am I referring to? If you register for, and this was a few years ago when I was there, register with the bio conference, just like going to DIA or any of these scope conferences, they have an app specific for people attending the event where you're able to see the schedule of events, the speakers that are there, as well as all the attendees.
Yeah, the Bio one-on-one partnering app. Mackenzie, who I know is from Bio, would you drop in the chat a link to some more information on that? I think that there would be some good interest from these folks.
Absolutely. And I also responded to Gunjan with our service provider guide, which has pretty good tips in there.
Perfect.
So yep, happy to do so.
Great. Appreciate it. We touched a little already on hosting events, and you can go all in like Chris and CSSI do and do a full-on conference or a happy hour or nothing. I'm going to put up a poll that does a little temperature gauge of how many people are planning on hosting events, and then we're going to get into chatting about them. All right, the question is, are you planning on hosting any events, meetings, happy hours during JPM Week 2024? Results are coming in.
You need some Jeopardy music, Victoria.
Yeah, we do.
We're waiting.
That'll be the next webinar. We're just getting better and better.
Perfect.
And Victoria, I apologize profusely again. I just joined in. Extremely late, stuck in traffic. So of course, you think everything takes 30 minutes, and I had about 15 minutes extra stuck in traffic around Boulder. So apologies.
You're good. I'm so happy you could make it. So for everybody else that doesn't know Linda, she's amazing. She's from JP Morgan. She's our third panelist. Linda, maybe while these responses are rolling in, you can give a quick intro of yourself.
Definitely. Great to meet everyone via Zoom, and really excited to be on this panel. I know we curated a lot of great people that are having a lot of great events, but I think also just thinking about JPM and how to be successful, and the fact that things happen, the greatest things happen outside the conference itself. I'm here to help and just give some additional advice on things that I looked for the first time that I was attending JPM, even as a JPM employee. And so I cover life science and healthcare for the Intermountain region for JP Morgan's life science and healthcare innovation practice. And I've been in life sciences and healthcare at some capacity, whether it be underwriting or banking, for over 15 years. So, just the breadth of how JPM has changed over the last 5 years and especially 10 years. It's been exciting to see, and definitely a lot of great opportunity and a lot of great partnership that I think we can all learn from and hear from not just Victoria, but the other panelists as well.
Uh-oh, do we lose our host?
I don't know. Can you just hear me? I was worried that I was freezing, but I saw she froze.
Uh-oh, she might have frozen. So Linda, where we were moving the discussion to was hosting events around JP Morgan, the conference. Should you do it? Should you not do it? Is it worth the spend? How do you get people to attend your event? I don't know if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I tell, and I partner profusely with all my other service providers in the Intermountain region, and definitely around September, start understanding and really planning. I think my feedback is, before anything else, preparation is key to success, right? And so beginning September 1st, I start engaging with my network, my clients, prospects, and understanding who's attending the conference. And I try to set up one-on-one meetings. And if there is a lot of interest in that space, then thinking about lunches, symposiums, and other large events. I think sometimes for newer service providers that are entering into and going to JPM, those large events, open invitations can be helpful. But again, if you have the budget and you have one-on-one invitations and interests to meet, then you'll have justification for doing a large event and really making it successful. But I mean, creating buzz early, I think, is super important. And again, preparing and having a plan to make relationships, right? I think Victoria and I talked about this when we were planning for the panel, but JPM is not there to do deals. It's there to reinforce your relationships. And so if you go and enter into that mindset, knowing that, hey, if I do hold an event, I usually will come out with a large ROI from that. But again, it's not the first priority, right? The relationships are.
Yeah, we're not sending term sheets at a cocktail party. Chris, you've had a lot of experience hosting an event. Tell us a little about yours, how you kind of got started, what your opinion is of it. Obviously, you said do it if you can. So
Yeah, it's again, we started this 10 years ago, and the event's grown quite a bit. It's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. I mean, as you probably have seen, if you're trying to get a hotel, the cost of an overnight hotel is through the roof. But again, we wanted to create an opportunity to network, not just for our sake, but some of our clients' sake. We work with a lot of early phase companies. We wanted to bring in a lot of PE groups, which also included bringing in other vendors, and we didn't see that as competition at all. We saw it as opportunity. And that's why I say, network with other people with similar businesses, because it will open up doors. You will follow them to other events that are going on. We're at the Hilton down there. So, as you mentioned earlier, JP Morgan is not one event. It's not like going to a conference. There's multiple meetings going on everywhere. And we're at the Hilton, where there's a number of different meetings going on there. And Bio, I think, is in the same building. At least it was a few years ago. And on that Bio app, matter of fact, they do list all the different events that are going on in the city during this time. But yeah, we actually have the event. We in advance probably had a half a dozen restaurants that we reserved tables for, so that when we did set up meetings, we had the reservation already there. which was very helpful. And again, you just tell people to come along, and some of it you pay for, some of it you share the cost on. But again, it's just getting face time with people. It could be clients, it could be partners down the road. So the event during the day, the hotel, the restaurants during the evening, and we did it every single night.
Yeah, good point, Chris. Partnering with somebody that's kind of a like-minded business as yours is a great way to spread out the costs, and combine resources and combine contact lists, quite frankly. One thing I like about, I'm sponsoring a happy hour on Wednesday. One thing I like about it is I get everybody's contact information. So I can follow up with them after the conference. I get their email address, their LinkedIn. So that way I can, send them a nice little thank you email. Appreciate you coming. And they feel a little obligated to respond. A lot of times I send out cold emails after I go to JPM and get a business card from somebody. And they either don't remember who I am or don't respond. And so by having that anchoring point of that event and being the host really goes a long way.
Yeah, great point about capturing people's names, getting their business cards. I mean, that's why we're there, right? And if you're not, you're just throwing money away. Those opportunities may turn into something, they may not, but without them, you don't have a chance. As they say in basketball, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So definitely reach out and get those contacts and follow up. Be prompt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And brand awareness too. I mean, I assume we're all gonna have our company logos plastered all over these events, on the marketing events, like for Big4Bio and everything. So it's just, hosting an event is a great way to do it, in my opinion. And it's worth the money, I think. Granted, I'm not necessarily a party planner, Chris. I don't know how you go about planning everything. It seems like a handful. I'm just sponsoring and doing some of the invites. But can you speak a little bit about like the planning around JPM? Like, how hard is it to get those reservations you spoke about, or Linda, if you have any insight into that?
No, on the JPM side, I mean, our lines of business each do separate invitations for their groups that are somewhat networking, happy hour with the dervs. They're planning those. They're reserving the space August, and if not,
A year in
annually, a year in advance, right? And so, but the interesting thing is, especially post-COVID, creating more content and having, I would say maybe a unique way of gathering or just to drill in more excitement. I think what we started proposing this year, or maybe symposiums where we have a quick 20-30 minute presentation of the panelists and then a 30-minute cocktail hour. So you'll definitely see some different types of events like that, along with, to your point, the event, the cocktail hour or dervs and dinners at night. And so I think making sure, again, content matters, bringing either thought leadership or some takeaways for clients that engage and make them come. What we've noticed and what we've heard from some of our service provider partners that we do joint events on is sometimes you only get 30% of the RSVPs, but you still have a huge population coming in because, to your point, someone else brings somebody else. And so most events are very well attended because of the sheer number of attendees that week. But utilizing things, whether it's thought leadership, a panelist with strategics that you partner with, or VCs that you partner with, to draw attendance is always helpful.
Back, by the way.
I'm hijacking your hosting, Victoria, because this is my last thing I'm gonna say. There's a great question from Mary that I love. Are business cards dead? Are you using apps to connect? I personally love business cards. I have mine in my left pocket, cards I get in the right pocket. I have a pen on me so I can write down little notes. The LinkedIn QR code works well too, but again, Alicia said it was nice to have a physical reminder. Do both. I mean, I like having
Definitely.
cards. That way I can also friend them on LinkedIn. So anyways, go ahead, Linda and Chris, if you have any advice on business cards.
100% agree with you. I prefer using the QR code on LinkedIn because then you LinkedIn at the same time, right? And you have just a natural list of follow up. But you know, if someone asks for a business card, you need to be able to hand them one.
Yeah, be prepared.
I want to say I am Team Jess. I do like having a paper business card. And then when I get home, I literally like I look at all of them and I remember because I've written on them where they came from, and it a LinkedIn connection, it goes into that list and kind of that pit of people and like, oh my God, where did I meet this person? And so it's I agree. I'm all for the paper. Oh, and then Mary, we put like LinkedIn QR codes on your name tags at your events. Those are good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a bad idea to wear one. Just when you go there, put your name and the name of your company on there big. You don't have to be a part of an event to wear a name tag. You know, so when people see you, they'll see your name right away. No one's hesitant to talk to you. It's right there. There's nothing wrong with that either.
Absolutely. So, we ready for another poll question? Maybe this one we'll get to see the results from. Okay, so this one is about like specifically using partnering services. Do you intend to utilize partnering platforms or services to facilitate meeting arrangements during JPM 24? And this is things like bio one-on-one partnering. I think Resi would probably count as this if you're getting meetings set up. All right, we've got 38% participation. We're rolling in. We'll go for a minute here.
While we're waiting for the poll question, when you scan somebody's LinkedIn QR code, are you automatically connected with them, or do you have to press another request?
You press another request to physically friend them.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good question.
I think it's a default follow, or you've got to go to the menu, I think, to specifically connect.
Thanks, Marie. I think you're right. Actually, it does. You go follow, but it doesn't actually like that one-on-one connection.
Mm-hmm.
All right, poll results. Pretty split versus between yes and no, and then some undecided. And then I wonder if I click on view details here, it will not show you guys the answers, but I'm going to read off which services people are using. LinkedIn, Bio App, Biotech Showcase, Bio Partnering System, Biotech Showcase, Bio Partnering, CSSI, Resi, Biotech Showcase, Bio, Eventbrite. Yeah, that's not, yeah, Eventbrite can be good, right? Partnering one, I think that's probably the bio one. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah, I was having an interesting conversation with some of my early stage companies yesterday and about JP Morgan and the meetings that they have set up to date and whatnot. And the one thing they mentioned was on those partnering, speed dating type, like the bio event, they don't have any interest in meeting with a service provider in those time slots, right? Their focus was, I want to meet with strategics. I want to meet with VCs. I'm here to fundraise. If I can go to a happy hour or symposium where it's a general networking event and meet service providers, great. But in those events, I'm less likely to take a meeting and allocate that 25, 30 minutes to meeting a service provider. And so it was interesting that just one early stage company's perspective where, they're in the midst of a fundraise. But I think understanding your prospects and clients and where they are in their stage is important, because if they're early stage looking for an IP lawyer, or hey, they're about to IPO in 24 months and they need a strong accountant firm, then those types of entities will be willing to meet in those situations. But understanding your population base and planning, content again that attracts them and makes them want to meet with you, I think is very important. So that would be
Yeah,
my piece.
Absolutely. And going back to what you said earlier, Jess, about doing your research ahead of time so that you're actually talking to people that want to talk to you. It's huge. Chris, do you have anything to add? I saw you kind of nodding along there.
No, I'm 100% agree.
Yeah. So the question that really, and also I don't think I said this, the questions that I'm asking were questions that were, they're kind of all formulated from survey responses from all of the attendees. So if you had registered on LinkedIn, you got a link to a survey. So these are all from you, and just want to make sure that that's clear. This is really for you. And the partnering service question that came up was, how can service providers efficiently fill their schedules with meaningful meetings to maximize their impact? And then which partnering services and tools have you found have the best ROI? And Chris, we can talk about your CSSI event here. Of course, that one's going to have a great ROI. No, I'm just kidding. But jokes aside, it's a fantastic event, and the time you invest in things is really where your ROI comes from versus the dollar amount.
Yeah, I mean, it's meeting people. There's been plenty of companies, people before they become companies that we meet in advance, and down the road you stay in touch with them, and you network with them, and over time that business does come in. At the very beginning, we focused our efforts on early phase companies that were getting funded, and those people down the road 2-3 years later became clients that were paying. So that was a big piece of our beginnings, to get in there and network with them. Our event, with the application, the app helps, see who's coming and see who's coming in advance. We talk about how to get your biggest ROI. It starts in the beginning, starts before you leave. Do your homework, get your information out there, get to know as many people, follow them to the different events. That's where the networking really helps, and relationships begin.
Yeah, it's a long game, is what I'm hearing you saying.
Yeah,
definitely. And I think sometimes people think meaningful like prospect clients, but I also think it's those meaningful connections with service providers in your region or your specific subsegment, right? Where ultimately you're developing relationships down the road. So, again, when a client gives me a risk or an issue, I can say quickly, oh, you should talk to this person. They can help you in this field. But without developing those relationships with the service providers in your region, you're a little lost. And the other thing is, JPM feels like a giant event with thousands of different things you can attend or sit in on or sign up for. But in reality, when you look at your markets, just remember it is a small, close-knit community. And so to your point, every connection matters, I think, and can drive something in the future.
One thing that I've done, and not necessarily tied to JPM, but it's through relationships and other vendors similar to me, even I would call them competitors. I have monthly calls with them. We just talk about the industry, we talk about the business, and at times we're sharing leads and opportunities. But again, it goes back to those relationships, and that's where this event, because there's a lot of similar people like you looking to find opportunities and are willing to do that. So takeaway would be find a couple people that you can keep that relationship with and have those monthly calls with them.
Linda,
Yeah.
when we were chatting, I think we were chatting yesterday, you had mentioned that preparation for this conference for you has started in September, maybe even earlier than that. We're obviously past September at this point, but would love to hear kind of your process and how you like what you're doing in September, what you're doing in October, November, December, and then right before and during the conference.
Definitely. In September 1st, really understanding and reaching out to clients and prospects and understanding who's going to the conference. And I mentioned this when you dropped a little bit, in the sense of I try to set up 10 to 15 one-on-one calls, whether that be with clients, prospects, other partners in my service providers in my region, or even people like the associations or incubators, or VC partners that specifically are associated either with my clients or in the region, right? And so diversifying, I think, and hearing and having those one-on-one calls, even if it's for 15 to 20 minutes to grab coffee, hearing what's happening and what they're attending to also creates a spider web effect of me understanding, again, what's happening, and hey, are there specific service provider events that have a really cool panel that I should be promoting to my clients and prospects that I also know that are attending. And so creating that spider web in September really prepares me again for October through the beginning of the year, and my attendance. So again, not that JPM individually plans multiple events, and I know for next year I plan specifically to partner with my associations in my regions and try to do some sort of symposium. But it's again just making sure I know generally the important people or people I have relationships with that are attending JPM and where they're going, making soft plans. And then also, I think, again, leveraging my service providers' events to provide content for my clients and prospects. And so I think, everybody can do that, because and like I said before, you can develop great relationships with service providers in your regions and have the focus on helping, hey, the innovation economy or late stage biotech or biopharma. And so when you start drilling down on what regions, what specific segments of life sciences or healthcare that you're focused on, or even stage, that world becomes so much smaller, and then you can add value.
Yeah, absolutely. Jess, do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, just I totally agree with Linda. You never know what meeting can change your business or change your life. My dear friend Andrew Arbuckle's on the call. We used to joke, we used to work together. You never know what name tag you're wearing. So you could be, 1 year you could be working for this company, and then all of a sudden something didn't work out, and then all of a sudden you need to pivot and move, and you have that connection already, And again, for my business, it's the timing is everything. Not everybody is building out a lab right now, so being able to hang your hat on somebody and connect with those people in your region or wherever you are, you can keep that pulse on what's going on, which is quite frankly why spend a lot of time in Colorado, spend a lot of time here in the Southeast, at these other conferences around, just to be able to keep a pulse on it. So love what Linda said, really like what Chris said about just taking the meeting.
Yeah.
I think you made a great point too of not having a self-serving agenda. And one thing I definitely do, especially November, December, is I get the list of people that I know that are attending. How can I help? Who do you want to meet at JPM? What are your objectives? And if I can help them in any way, or make connections, or find interesting events that I think would be helpful to them, I think that propels the innovation economy forward and then all of us forward.
Absolutely. So given all of this conversation about really the benefit of expanding your network by partnering with other service providers, not just zeroing in on who's gonna, give you money in the short term, really playing the long game. We have a ranking poll here. So at JPM, I am interested in networking primarily with, and then rank in terms of who you're most interested in networking with, and really what the goal is for you across the week. We'll leave it on for a minute or so. Got 23 responses, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. They're rolling in. All right, 15 more seconds. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End and share. All right, this isn't the most visually user-friendly description here. What we're seeing is that most people are still going off potential clients, and then the next most interesting to people is partners, investors, and then other service providers. So I think it's a little bit of a gray area too between partners and other service providers. Given the answers to this, or the responses that we got, coupling them with what's going on in the industry as a whole, what are the current market trends that you see impacting client contracts right now, knowing that people really are going after those client contracts still? And who are you targeting in terms of client demographics when you are targeting clients at JPM Week? Linda, would love your thoughts.
Yeah, I can kick it off first. I mean, so in my group specifically, I cover any company from Series A to beyond. So all the way through IPO and any other M&A, equity add-on, leverage buyout, et cetera. And so it's really interesting for me, and especially, narrowing down my scope or my focus. And so I think there's multiple days. And so how I judge that is different days I'll have a little bit more focus on certain things. Maybe one day, early stage companies, focus on fundraising, what content is around there that I can utilize or help my clients gain a knowledge base on, or again, guide them to, so they have a successful JP Morgan event. On the late stage side, they are connected to our investment bank partners and usually get tickets or want to attend JP Morgan, the conference, alongside the happy hours. And so making sure, I think on that side, they have some connectivity to JPM Investment Bank, or, they're presenting or have some presentation deck that they're sharing, drives, my goals or preparation, and how can I connect them to, who they need to be connected to. So I narrow my scope, I guess, in terms of certain days, which focus. And so the poll's interesting, right? Because I also think early on in the day, I'm meeting with clients and prospects and VCs. And then in the evening, I'm going to more of the general events where I'll network with service providers. And like I said, a couple questions before ago, I do think networking with my partners and service providers are equally important at the time I'm at JP Morgan. And so it's a tough question, but I think preparation again is key, making sure you're aware of your target audience, or goals, prospects versus clients, and then what subsegment and life stage they're in, from a company and prospect perspective, will help you plan and be more successful.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to add, you never know where the next business is going to come from, so you can't go in thinking, I just need to talk to people who are looking to buy my services. Obviously you target them, but as your poll talked about is there's partners out there, there's networking opportunities that will lead to business out of left field. So again, that's what these conferences are about, is getting out there and meeting people. I mean, if you're a shy person, you're an introvert, you got to put that aside. This is going to be a grueling, couple days that you're there, where you're out of your comfort zone, talking to everyone that you can, getting introduced to everybody you can, because you never know where that next piece of business is. I always find, my primary goal is to talk to my clients, find new clients, but also find that next networking person, the ones that will open doors for me, in collaboration with them, or straight on. But this is a networking event. There's a reason why networking is in this title. It's because that's what you have to do. You have to get out there and you've got to talk to people. You got to collect their business cards, but you never know where that business is coming from, is my point.
Do you have any tips for folks who are shy or really are hesitant to, do the traditional networking, the people that are never going to show up to your happy hour no matter what, to really put themselves out there? I'd love to hear from all of you, really, like what your tips are. If you ever have to hype yourself up, how do you make it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good if and I've seen this too, where you hang around that person that has that energy, and you let them know, hey, do you mind introducing me to some of these people too? I just don't feel comfortable doing that, but being around that person, you start getting into circles. And what I find at these conferences, especially at our networking event, is it's just not one-on-one. There'll be a group of people talking.
Yep.
And that's how you get to know people, be a part of that group, and you're all of a sudden in that circle talking to them. So get next to someone who can pull you along and pull you into these events and these discussions.
That's great advice.
I think knowing your circles and your identities, right? Like there's so many women group events happening. So as women, you could attend those and it's a smaller population if you're somewhat hesitant, and you have things to connect on that, on the side of just your work and your job on an everyday basis, that'll help you make connections and create a circle. And the other thing is knowing your circles in the sense of, okay, for me, for example, where are the early stage companies that are fundraising right now attending, and how can I be helpful and be in the same room as they are? And so you get this just based on titles or the firms that are hosting these various open invitation events. You get a sense of who likely is going to attend those. And so making sure, that's who you want to surround yourself with is equally important.
Linda, if you can go ahead and send us that list of the events where the early stage fundraising businesses will be, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll send. I know Portal Innovations is doing an event. They have some strategics that are going to be on their panel, and a JP Morgan associate of mine out of Chicago will be on that as well. So like, again, I think to your point, like I love attending any incubator or association event because they are interconnected in the region with so many opportunities, and they know the pulse. They may not know everything, but they know the pulse of a lot of their clients and members. So, I think that's always exciting. I saw a question about a list of women group events. I'm attending the Deloitte event, and I know that's open invitation. I heard there's a few others, but I have to go see who was throwing those. But Victoria, I can send those to you after this call.
Yeah, I just looked
Absolutely,
on
we'll distribute
LinkedIn.
them.
Sorry, Victoria. I saw on LinkedIn that there is a JP Morgan Healthcare Conference networking group. So exactly what you guys need to be a part of. You know, there's like close to 2,000 people in that group. So go on LinkedIn. There's plenty of places to check out.
Oh yeah.
Somebody,
Someone
yeah,
Go
that
ahead.
had that in the chat, if you don't mind, Chris, that'd be great. But no,
Spread the love. I love it.
I just have one thing to your question, Victoria, about if you're truly introverted, and I know I said this earlier, but I truly believe it. You know, everybody's there for the same reason. So there's no shame in asking, hey, what do you do? Or what do you do? Or like, hi, I'm Jess. You know, it's nice to meet you. Like everybody's doing that. So that helped me in a couple of conferences earlier on in my career. It's just realizing and making peace with the fact that you're not alone in this. Everybody's doing the same thing.
Yep. And having a few questions prepared that you have in your back pocket at the ready to things like, how's the conference going for you? What are you, what's your goal here? Where do you work? Anything just to break that ice. And then once you're into a conversation, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's a good point, Victoria. Everybody really likes to talk about themselves, me
Yes.
included. So if you ask them about anything about themselves, usually they'll tell you, whether it's personal, whether it's about their business or anything. Like, ask questions,
Yep.
and you'll get answers.
That's
And then
great advice.
listen carefully too, because this kind of goes with what we're talking about is doing your research. If you hear one little pain point they may be having, and this is selling 101, if you hear a pain point they're having, maybe you could be the solution or provide them a solution. So listen carefully, ask questions, don't be afraid.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone who's dropping their resources in the chat. It's amazing. We will compile everything that was sent in this chat and send it to everyone too. So don't feel like you have to jot everything down. There's also the little save chat feature. So this is amazing. This is exactly what's supposed to be happening. We have planned, speaking of networking, this is perfect. We've planned to utilize breakout rooms and split everybody up into groups of probably like 5 to 7 people max. The smaller the better, but not too small, because then you kind of limit yourself. The point of this group is going to be to find a way to help someone in the group. So everyone should go around, introduce themselves, what company they're from, and then end with an ask. And that can be something as simple as, hey, can you like my LinkedIn page? We're trying to build it up to, does anybody know anybody in, cell and gene therapy that's looking to invest? Whatever you're looking for, throw it out there and find a way to help each other. We'll meet back here at 20 minutes past the hour and wrap up with final questions, closing remarks, and thank our panelists for their time and amazing insights. So I'm going to randomly split us up into groups. We will have, let's say, 4 or 5 people per group. I'm going to create them. You'll automatically be sent there. And we'll see you in 15 minutes. Well, now too, I hope that there's at least some sort of sense of community. You can get to JP Morgan and you have a friend that you met through Big4Bio and Clinically Media and hit the ground running. So we're going to do final remarks. Any final questions that anyone has for our panelists? Raise your hand. We can ask them now, and then we'll wrap up and get on with our days. This has been amazing. Bye, Megan. Oh, I thought you said bye. Sorry. Hi. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I'll start by wrapping up. I'll share with you our networking event. Again, we've been doing this for 10 years, and it is truly about meeting other people. It's amazing that people who go to that conference that have no idea what to expect. And I think this has been a valuable resource for everybody to better understand what to do when you're there and different ideas. But I put in our website there. You can register. There's no cost to you. It's a great opportunity to go by the Hilton and not pay to sit in the conference or in the waiting room out front. They were charging people by the half hour just to have a cup of coffee. But here's a chance to come in and meet people and network. That's the whole idea of our meeting event.
Amazing. Well, I hope to see most of you guys there. It'll be fun. Jess, Linda, any final words of wisdom to pass on to our audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, for me, I think get pumped up and excited to network. Utilize JPM as a way to reinforce your relationships, and then remember that if you prepare and just reach out to the network you already have established in your regions, there's people that'll help you. And so those three things I think are definitely the most important things that I take away every year, and then reflect on when I'm planning for the next year. And I think the last part is just content does matter. So to your point, I love the idea of having a few banter type questions, but even just a few thought leaderships points or things that are happening in your market or you're seeing across your clients, or again, perspectives on what's happening from an economic perspective or in your space specifically. Having that content will I think trigger memory and developing new relationships when you're meeting people in those circles.
I love that, to have your talking points in your head. That's super smart. And yeah, I mean, it sets you up as the thought leader, as the go-to person for whatever that light bulb first impression memory is. That's super smart.
Agreed. It's always nice to have a couple little tidbits to elevate your kind of expertise. I would say don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged if you don't find a client or a partner, throughout that week. Follow up. I mean, I'm still getting a few connections from last year's JPM from somebody that I've met that now they're ready for my service. So go in with an open mind, ask how you can help people, and then they'll be more likely to help you. So can't wait to see everybody out there.
I love it. It's great. It's a long game. I think that's really the takeaway here. It's a long game. And it's perfect that it's the beginning of the year, because you really have the whole year to let it play out very naturally. So please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Linda. It was amazing to have you. We're so lucky to get to pull all your insights out of you. And I'm looking forward to JPM. I had mentioned this yesterday, but I always get all hyped up after these webinars, because it is overwhelming, and it's a slog of a week. So thank you all. We will be following up with all the information shared in the chat and any resources in an email. So be on the lookout for that. A recording of the webinar will be available through Big4Bio's LinkedIn. So follow them. It'll also be through Clinically Media. So follow our LinkedIn as well. And then next Thursday, the 12th, which actually might be Tuesday, it's the 12th, Bio has a deep dive into their partnering app webinar that they're hosting. So that's another thing worth looking into if you are thinking about partnering with that app, or if you're on it and trying to figure out how to maximize your opportunities. Mackenzie and the big, the Bio team is putting that on. So we'll include a link to that too in the follow-up, but drop your email address in the meeting chat if you want to be sure to be notified of any future webinars that we do. Had a lot of fun doing this, so thank you all for coming and staying till the end. I know it's a long webinar and a busy time of year. Thanks all.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
Victoria.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.